Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. I know, crypto markets are down right now. Very sad as a result. At least at the time that I'm recording this, who knows what the hell it's doing by the time you're watching this. But I wanted to share with you some positive news. There's a Pro-XRP hedge fund CEO who says, the time is now. The bottom is in. And he's not just saying that. He's actually adjusted his firm's, his hedge fund's investment strategy accordingly. So it's kind of not just saying things, but actually kind of walking the walk here. And it's none other than Dan Morehead, who is the CEO and founder of Pantera Capital, which is the first hedge fund in the United States to offer Bitcoin. The very first one. That's dating back to 2013. So I thought I'd share with you his perspective. And also, as it turns out, despite the fact that prices have mostly been cratering for this year. You know, it gets a little burst to the upside. And that's certainly true with stocks as well. Despite that being the case, in the world of crypto, a massive amount of money has been pouring in. So even though that hasn't resulted in price to the upside, because these can be investments in firms and stuff, not necessarily just crypto. Even so that's the case, it's worth being aware of this, because I'm telling you, the big money, the people who don't behave like your typical retail speculator out there, which is to say they're not emotionally buying and selling, they're putting money into the space because they firmly believe it's here to stay and that the best days are yet ahead. And I think that's a message worth conveying to anybody in the retail space out there. But before going any further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this, XRP's 35 cents, Bitcoin's down to $22,895, market cap for the asset class at a little over $1.1 trillion, and Bitcoin dominance at 39.71%, crypto fear and greed index at 31 out of 100, so market participants still in fear. But worth noting, yesterday, as prices were up, it was at 42 out of 100. So from 42 out of 100 in one day down to 31 out of 100 because reasons, folks. It's just whatever direction things seem to be flowing. It makes people feel things, and then they make important financial decisions, unfortunately, based on those emotions rather than logic and reason or any sort of sound long-term strategy when it comes to investing. Hey, you know what? To each their own. That's why for me, once I purchase a crypto, my strategy is to do precisely nothing at all. It's the most unsophisticated approach to crypto, but it freaking works. The people that are getting in and out of positions and think that they can time the markets and they know best, those are the people that data shows they end up getting eaten alive, figuratively, not literally, because I know the difference between literal and figurative. Most people do not, though. It's like my superhero ability is understanding the difference between literally and figuratively. Now look at this headline from the Daily Huddle. $5.1 billion crypto hedge fund CEO says new rally incoming. Ethereum and altcoins set to outperform. And so again, this is they're covering information from Dan Morehead, and I'm a big fan of Dan Morehead. I always find him to be rather insightful, and he's a truly data-driven guy. For him, it's not about the emotion. And he's definitely pro-XRP. In fact, here is an article. I've mentioned this a number of times. I'm not going to read this article. I just thought I'd mention it. There's an article from 2 years ago, August 8th, 2020, from Xi Crypto, titled, Pantera Capital CEO, XRP is one of the few cryptocurrencies that'll really be really important 10 years from now. And so he really does think that if you fast forward about a decade from that point anyway, you know, maybe there's just a handful of cryptos, whether it's a dozen, whatever it ends up being. He does firmly believe that XRP is going to be one of them, which makes logical sense because it solves real problems for real people. Go figure. At some point, utility is actually going to functionally matter. Dan Morehead's hitting the nail on the head. Well, here's what he said. What is going on now in terms of the world of crypto? Where are we heading in terms of bull market, bear market? And he also talks about how he actually changed his investment strategy. So he's not just saying this. He firmly believes the bottom is in, and he's betting accordingly. So a piece reads as follows. Pantera Capital CEO Dan Morehead thinks the crypto market has passed the bottom of the cycle and is about to start rebounding. In a new interview with Real Vision CEO Raoul Pal, the crypto hedge fund executive says his firm was heavy on Bitcoin in May, June, and July because the top crypto asset goes down less in times of market stress. Yeah, and so pause, just think about this. Historically, this is rather true. Like, even if you think back to when the market collapsed several years ago, which was right after I jumped into crypto, because I jumped in November 2017. You saw so many cryptos tank over 90, 95%. And I can't remember exactly how much Bitcoin tanked, but it was not quite that high of a percentage. I can't remember if it was 80 or 85%. And that was for the biggest swings. And that's not what we saw here. But what he's saying, historically, certainly very true. When the crypto market, which moves in tandem, is taking a beating, Bitcoin, generally speaking, takes less of a beating. Money more quickly flows out of altcoins. And some of that will go to stable coins. Some of it actually might be reallocated to Bitcoin. Some actually just goes back out to fiat currency. But Bitcoin takes less of a beating historically. And I don't know that it's always going to be like that as the asset class matures. You know, those cryptocurrencies that are solving real problems for real people, I think that they're also going to be a bit more impervious, if you will, to market stresses, let's say. But anyway, piece continues. In a new interview with Real Vision CEO Raoul Pal, the crypto hedge fund executive says his firm was heavy on Bitcoin. Oh, I read that part. Sorry, folks. But I'll just finish it. May, June, and July because the top crypto asset goes down less in times of market stress. He now, however, believes it is time for a different strategy. And here's a quote from Dan Moorhead. Bitcoin's kind of like the treasury equivalent of our space. And everything is kind of high beta to that. In times of stress, Bitcoin does go down less than the microcaps or whatever you want to call altcoins. I actually think we're past the bottom. If we're in, at a minimum, a consolidation level and potentially the new rally, which I actually think we're in, then it does pay to be out that risk curve, to be in Ethereum, decentralized finance, a bunch of other things. And so we've now taken our Bitcoin exposure way down, and we're back in all the other sectors that can perform well if we're in a bull market. Obviously, if we're wrong and we have another leg down, we're going to be wishing we were all in Bitcoin, but the other things have a high beta, basically, end quote. So he's taking a calculated risk here. It doesn't mean that he can't be wrong. He could be wrong. Maybe you do see another leg down, but he's placing his bet right here. And so he's exited a certain amount of whatever the firm's Bitcoin position is to get into altcoins. And again, the entire asset class moves in tandem, which is why it's worth being aware of all of this. At some point, XRP is going to pop along with everything else, and I firmly believe there will be another alt season because humans are still treating the damn space about the same as when I entered in 2017 in terms of not knowing what the hell is going to be around in terms of long-term viability, and then just investing in absolute crap coins that do nothing. So even here, even if we're in a bear market now, I don't see anything going to zero. And I noted this in 2018 as the market was tanking and we were in a bear market then too. And I was saying that as well. I was like, I don't see coins going to zero. And other people were saying, other people running crypto YouTube channels were saying, this is good because this is the flushing out of the system we need. We need all these projects that don't do anything to go away. And I was sitting there in 2018 saying, yeah, okay, great. I agree that the crap projects need to go away, but I don't see that happening. So what are you talking about? And now here we are in 2022, and people are saying we need the flushing out of the system still. It's been 4 years since then, and I'm still saying, yeah, I agree. Like the crap that doesn't do anything eventually needs to go the way of the dodo, my favorite extinct avian creature, but it's not happening right now. People are behaving in an absurd fashion right now, which is why I'm not worried about that. Like, not now. I think it's going to happen. They'll have the come to Jesus moment, but right now, the whole asset class is just moving in tandem. So it feels to me, until something changes, and when I notice something changes, I will scream from the rooftop. I personally don't see it anyway, which is why I don't care that I hold a bunch of coins right now. I hold about 30 different cryptocurrencies. I think most of them ultimately go to zero. I'm not afraid to hold them right now because people don't know what the hell they're doing. And I think that they're going to rally. Like, it really is that simple. And if they don't, then maybe they go to zero and I lose everything. Okay, because I don't care. I don't care. Because I also have my largest crypto holding, than XRP, which actually solves real problems. So even if it goes down, markets, because we have the flushing out of the system and XRP goes down with everything else, XRP would recover if it's solving real problems for real people. So I'm still not worried about it. That's all I'm saying right there. So it's just interesting to see that Dan Moorhead is so confident, and historically he's got quite a high hit rate. I think it's safe to say. So it'll be neat to see if this really is. And so even if this is the bottom, it doesn't mean that we're imminently going to see necessarily something to the upside. So whether it's weeks or months or more than half a year, whatever it ends up being, fine. But if the bottom's in, it's in, and then eventually things start to creep upwards. I've been through this before, and then eventually you get these days seemingly out of nowhere. You get these big pops, and things just happen, and then you get the attention of even more retail investors, and more money piles in, and just the ridiculousness of crypto volatility, which is the reason that I'm here, like it really starts to, shine. It's really on display at that point. So it's going to happen again. I just don't pretend to know exactly when, and I just think it's fun, like everybody else thinks, to track this stuff and kind of talk about what could potentially be happening here. But in the meantime, there's been a massive amount of money flowing in. Take a look at this headline from the Daily Huddle. Crypto firms raised over $30 billion in first 6 months of 2022 despite bear winter, says analytics company. New data from crypto analytics firm Messari reveals that money is pouring into crypto projects in defiance of falling markets. According to a new report compiled with fundraising tracker Dove Metrics, Messari shows that crypto firms raised over $30 billion in nearly 1,200 rounds during the first half of 2022. Now, the report highlights several key sectors of the industry as receiving massive cash infusions despite the bear market, which has kept investors frustrated since last November. So it's worth noting here again, we're talking about investing into firms specifically, not necessarily cryptocurrencies themselves. If some of them wouldn't crypto, okay, fine. But it's just interesting to see this. So that's why it's like, if you're ever sitting there fearful, just understand there's a lot of people out there, highly informed, highly educated, with boatloads of money, who are fearlessly allocating massive quantities of funds, even during the scary times right now in 2022. It's because they understand this stuff isn't going away. It's just going to get better and better and better. And seeing that the whole market's still moving in tandem, I'm excited for everything that I hold, but especially XRP. And especially since I personally believe that justice will be done in the SEC versus Ripple case. Can you imagine what that would do in terms of pushing XRP to rally? If we in the XRP community are right and justice ends up being done, can you imagine what that means? Like, there's so much to look forward to, and it doesn't mean there's no risk, but my gosh, I am very optimistic for a reason. Piece continues. Messari's senior research analyst Thomas Dunleavy provides more details about the survey, first noting that, and this is a quote, and this is amazing, check this out. The biggest highlight: despite the bear market, there was more invested in the first half of 2022 than all of 2021. What? Think about that. Because you know what was happening in 2021 for much of it anyway. It was pure euphoria, especially the first half of 2021. And in this bear market, when everything's scary, in just the first half of 2022, more money poured in, invested in the space than all of last year when all the euphoria was happening. That's insane. So look, the asset class, it just keeps getting more and more adopted. And so just understanding the nature of things and the fact that things are cyclical, I think can go a long way to kind of ease minds out there if you're the type that's worried. I mean, you're normal if you're somebody that's stressing. I'm the weirdo that doesn't feel emotions about this stuff. But I don't feel emotions about that stuff because I'm armed with knowledge, so it doesn't make sense to feel these emotions that the typical retail speculator feels. But I'm the weirdo. You're not the weirdo if you feel those things, okay? You're perfectly fine, perfectly normal. But I'm optimistic. It'll be neat to see what happens towards the later part of this year and into 2023, and I'm really looking forward, because you understand within this roughly that time frame, we're going to have finality surrounding XRP regardless. Something's going to happen there. I cannot wait to see what happens and what that means and how, in terms of like how markets react to that. I think it's going to be glorious. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.